Welcome to a snowy day in Kansas, and what a perfect day for some stories. And do I have some stories for you guys? Let's get started. So this video is going to be about 6 instances where I've had customer requests that were insane. They're crazy. Now, we're not talking about Hoovie's Garage with LS swapped Porsches and putting lift kits on Porsches and things of that nature. Those are its own special category. We're just talking about everyday customers, people that I don't know, that have come in with really strange requests. The first one is an older Mercedes, early 2000s. They brought it in for quite an extensive amount of work, but the request was, please leave all the windows up because I don't want the interior smell to be diminished while it sits in your shop. Unfortunately, we have a policy in the shop that I've mandated that the driver's window is always down the entire time the car is in the shop. And I learned this from my mentor, where there was a few times in a single year where keys got locked into the car. And the owner at that time said, all driver's windows go down from here on out, and if the customer doesn't like it, they can take their car elsewhere. That's just the way it is. Because it saves a lot of trouble and headache of, uh-oh, the car's running, I left the keys locked in there. Or the customer did request to have all the windows up, but we did not comply with that. We left the driver's window down. When the customer came to pick up their vehicle, they were none the wiser. They didn't even know. They didn't notice any diminished smell. There was no complaints. The smell that's in there comes from the fabrics and the leather and the glues and all the different things they use during the manufacturing process. It's not going to go away in 2 or 3 days in the shop. When they asked us that, it's like, that's really weird. Don't roll down the windows. I want to keep the smell in. Anyways, it gets worse as we go along. The next one is a late 90s Chevy Blazer. The customer brought it in with a misfire. We did some diagnosis and found out it had a cracked porcelain insulator on the spark plug, on one of the spark plugs. We just quoted all 6 spark plugs. It's a V6. It wasn't really that big of a deal, but then when we presented the cost to the customer, the strange request came in. I'd like to be filmed with this car. It's like, well, I told him, I said, there's really not much to what we're doing here. It would be a really short video. Just change some spark plugs to fix a misfire. Really isn't worth filming. And finally, as we got talking with the customer, we got the feeling, got the understanding that it wasn't even about the car. They themselves wanted to be on camera. After I told him, I said, we won't be filming the vehicle, we won't be filming you, we're just happy to fix your vehicle and send you on your way. We're not going to be filming it. He said, I tell you what, park my Blazer outside, we're done. I was like, we're not fixing your Blazer now? He said, no, I want it to be on film. And since you can't work with me on that, then I'm not interested in going any further. So we parked it outside, charged a diagnostic fee, and off the person went. And through this whole scenario, we joke about that to this day. It's like, this guy tried to sabotage and force his way in onto a video. He didn't even care about getting his car fixed. We definitely don't work that way. That kind of on a case-by-case basis, we film a person's car, and we also ask permission beforehand. However, we won't film your car by being blackmailed. That's not the way it works. The third one's going to be a Jeep Wrangler. I think it was late 90s, early 2000s. It had the heater core was bad, and it was going to be a long wait on getting a heater core. For whatever reason, at that time, there was a shortage of heater cores for that particular year of Jeep Wrangler. The customer said, for future times of having to change this out, and for this time as well, I don't want you to pull the dash and do it the conventional way and take it all apart. What I want you to do is go into the engine bay where the firewall is and get your angle grinder with a cutting wheel or whatever and actually cut a hole that goes through the metal firewall and even into the HVAC case, and then build up a structure that covers that has bolts on it. So from here on out, the customer could take apart their own heater core, change their heater core, and for as long as they own the vehicle. I had quite a discussion with the customers, like, when you go to sell this vehicle, whoever is going to see this is going to see this as a severe hack, and they're going to devalue it greatly, probably by $1,000 or more off the value of your car. The customer says, I'm never going to sell it. I don't care. Cut the hole in the firewall. I want you to do it. Obviously, we did no warranty on that one, and we wrote up on the ticket that there would be no warranty. It's a severe modification that's really kind of strange, but we actually did it. The customer was happy. But that was the first and only time, and maybe will be the only time I've ever had someone ask me to cut a hole through their firewall for a heater core. That's kind of strange. Strangely, in the comments of this video, a lot of the gearheads out there really liked that idea. They thought that was great. So that now when the heater core goes out, it's not going to be $2,000. It'll be $50 or $100. So I guess I can see that, but it really does hurt the value of the vehicle. So on to the next one. For the fourth one, Mrs. Wizard's new cat, her 20th anniversary gift, decided to jump up on my lap. So I guess we're going to do this one with a kitten. Her name is Daisy, by the way. The fourth one was a mid-'80s Chevy Camaro. The customer brought it in and said, I've tried to do burnouts and it's just really tough. I think it was like a 305, a 5-liter V8. He said it was tough to do burnouts. He tried to show off to his friends and this and that. He said, I want you to check out the brakes while it's in there. So I checked out the brakes and I called him and said, hey, I don't see any issues with your brakes. And he says, no. He says, what I want you to do here is I want you to cut the rear brake lines and disable my rear brakes so that when I do a brake stand, it'll burn to kingdom come. It'll just do a burnout like crazy. I was like, hell no. That sounds like a lawsuit. That sounds like someone's going to get hurt. If you get into an emergency situation, your front brakes are going to lock up on you because the rears aren't doing anything. I was like, no, we're not doing that. You could get killed, guy. He was very upset. He said, man, I thought that this would be the place to go to get this taken care of, but apparently not. I've tried a few other shops and they won't do it either. I'm like, no kidding, they won't do it either. I don't think you're going to find anyone that's going to cut your rear brakes and disable them permanently. That's just not going to happen with anyone that could get sued into oblivion. So the customer left unhappy. And afterwards, we joked around the shop. It's like, who does that? Who cuts their rear brakes off so they can do burnouts? But anyways, that was really strange. And I guess the kitty is ready to go. Here you go, Mrs. Wizard.
Hey, thank you.
The fifth one was a really strange scenario where the customer was actually in the shop with us. I think it was like a 99 Chevy truck, a red one. I remember what color it was. It was a K1500. The customer wasn't really upfront. I don't understand. Maybe they themselves or another shop tried to do a fuel pump on it, which we know as a gearheads, the tank has to come down or the bed come off, one of the two. They put a new fuel pump in and they forgot to put the new green large O-ring that goes around the cap, where that locking ring, I should say. And every time they fill up or if they slosh the fuel around, gas leaks all over on the sides of the tank. Again, this repair was not done by Omega. It was done somewhere else, and I think it was done by the customer. Kind of a do-it-yourself repair. So we're looking at this, and I said, this gas tank's going to have to come down to, we're just basically going to have to redo the job. Because even if I get the locking ring off, I can't get the pump out. I can't cut the O-ring and fit it around there. That's not going to work. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, well, I came to the right place. You're the right guy to get this done. I quoted him the price, and he was like, well, okay, well, if we're going to do that, let's go ahead and check the differential, check the transmission, check a few other things. And we talked a little bit more, and then he put his hand on my shoulder again, and he says, yeah, give me a call when it's done. And I said, those are 3 separate extra operations. We'll have 3 extra charges for each of those because they're not affiliated with the fuel tank. They're not, if we find any issues, there's going to be 3 separate deals. It's going to add to the bill. He immediately took his hand off of my shoulder and said this comment: I really hadn't anticipating on paying anything here. I was like, well, why should I have to do it for free? So I figured you could help me out here. I'm kind of in a bind. I need to get this done. I said, well, we're happy to do it. You're just going to have to pay for it. We didn't do this to your truck. Somebody else did. He said, tell you what, you're not the mechanic I thought you were. I really thought you really were. I heard that you were this great mechanic, but I guess I see otherwise. So just park my truck outside. We're not going to go any further. All of a sudden, he's not putting his hands on me anymore, and he's really pissed off. I guess that goes along the lines of the experiences I've had in the past of why I'm always nagging about people trying to get handouts and things, because I've seen it happen a lot of times. I've had it experienced to me. So what's really strange about that scenario is who expects in their mind that any shop's going to just do stuff for free just because you put your hand on them, your buddies now? No, that doesn't work. The customer left, and apparently I'm a really bad mechanic because I was going to charge him to do the work. And number 6 is going to be one we actually mentioned in a previous video. I don't remember which video it was, one of the crazy stories or something like that, but this is a crazy request. I had a group of people do a tour of the shop, and there was a gentleman, an older gentleman, that came up to me. He said, hey, I hear you do good work. I've got this old Porsche 928, which it always is a Porsche 928 for some reason. It's not been ran for over 20 years. It's apart in pieces all over inside my shop. I'd like to send a box at a time of parts per month, 1 box per month. And you slowly reassemble my Porsche back with new parts, fix it and everything. And eventually I'll have the body shell and all that stuff shipped on a truck. And we'll do it on a monthly basis because that's the only way I can afford it. I said, man, I don't even know if you'll have all the parts. It'll take me hours to dig through all the parts and figure out what goes where. I don't know if they took it apart, if they broke something, or if... I said, I have zero interest in that. I don't know any shop in the entire world that would put together a Porsche 928 in boxes through the mail. And what really turned me off to even think about taking on this job is he said, I want to keep the price as low as possible. You just presented an extremely complicated situation that's going to take 10 times more time than just normally fixing a 928, but yet keep the price lower than fixing a 928. It's like, nope, that's really strange. I've never heard anyone want to send me their car in boxes, 1 per month, and over the next couple of years, get his car back together. Really strange. Sometimes I think people don't realize that, especially in a larger shop, there's mortgage, there's bills to pay, utilities, employees, labor, insurance. There's so much. It takes literally tens of thousands of dollars per month just to run the shop. There's no room there to do work for free or to do charity work or we're buddies, let's give me a cut rate price. Or the people that I owe money to for bills, utilities and things, they don't give me a cut rate. So that's kind of the reason why I don't also present cut rates for people. But before we go, I have a bonus for you. This one was scary. I actually talked to one of my buddies, Jake, who's an officer in a sheriff's department locally. There really wasn't much they could do because it was out of state, but this was really weird. I had a customer call Crazy D in the office. They had a car, I don't remember what car it was, but they specifically want us to disable the emergency release in the trunk. You know, like if you throw somebody in a trunk and close the lid, there's an emergency release so they can get out. They put that on purpose because of situations where people get kidnapped or worse. This person wanted us to disable that feature, remove the handle, remove the mechanism so they cannot get out from the inside because they had a special project coming up. Crazy D didn't even consult me on that one. He just said, no, hell no, we're not interested in that. I don't know what you got going on. Don't even call here again. We want nothing to do with your special project. I went and talked to my buddy Jake, who's, like I said, he's a deputy. He said, that's really weird. He's like, if the guy calls back or if you get any more contact with this person, we'll take this a little further. But otherwise, he said, there's not much we can do. But he said, that sounds very bad. So these are some of the strange requests we've got over the years. Some of the ones that are just make me just stop for a minute like, what? How does anyone even come up with this stuff? But I guess when you open any kind of a business, whether it be a restaurant or a mechanic shop, a medical center, any kind of a business, to the public, you get all the public. You get the good people, the bad people, and the weird people. So that's just kind of the way it goes, I guess. Mrs. Wizard's auctions on her second run of all the really cool artwork she's done is almost over. Definitely go check those out. There's a link in the description if you're curious about buying something from there. Really cool pieces she made this time. Also check out in the link below, there's Teespring. There's all of our t-shirts for sale there. We have a new design that's out. See if you guys like that. It's a really sweet design that Mrs. Wizard worked on. Go check out Mrs. Wizard's Ways while you're at it. Her channel that she's got going on, videos she's got going on. There's a link in the description below for that as well. And the holidays are upon us. If you're looking for stocking stuffers or just gifts in general, check out our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. If you're buying for someone who's into cars or repairs or things of that nature, there's so many really good gifts for sale there. Make sure to hit the subscribe button here as well because we got many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.